It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And his computer's working fine, thank you for asking. And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Oh,
After a pre-show discussion, I'm not sure.
It was a little all over the place.
I asked if y'all wanted tea. You should have said no, we drink Coke.
Right, we did not scream no loud enough or fast enough, apparently. But okay.
Oh, man.
Well, I hope everybody out there is doing okay. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I guess I won't say what I've really been doing with my spare time.
And Les would appreciate that.
He's not the only one.
So there goes page 1, 2.
Thank God. Last week was long enough. You don't need to have a repeat of that.
Oh, man.
Wait, what happened last week?
Stop.
No.
Just stop.
No.
Okay.
Trauma. That's what happened last week.
That's every week, right?
Well, kind of.
Oh, man. All right. So, update. Last week, we're talking about last week. See, I brought it around, guys. Last week, I told you guys about Big Sky that Jensen and Reba is going to be in. And I have been watching that, and I finally got caught up into the episode that he was in. And I have to say, I'm impressed. Within the first 5 minutes, we got a summa bitch. So it was like, hell yes.
Jensen curses film at 11.
I'm still kind of out if I like this show. I will tell you this. Had Jensen not been cast for season 3, I would not have made it to the end of season 2. It's good, but there's just, I guess I'm used to things like Supernatural where you have a story, it's climatic, and boom, at the end of it, you know what the hell's going on. They wrap it all up and you're on to the next monster, you know. Now in that What a Monster, you know, kind of show, there was a bigger drama unfolding in the background of these, but you still had one monster and done kind of thing. This show, it's kind of like they've taken that background drama that you normally have going when you have something more exciting going on in the foreground, and they've brought it to the forefront and was like, we're going to make you watch this. And, you know, sometimes it's just very boring. I found myself pausing and coming back to it. My opinion, if they wanted to make this show so much better, at the very beginning of the season, when you see what that season's going to be about, they don't need to show you everybody that's involved. I think part of what keeps an audience hooked is trying to figure that out. And it's kind of nice when you're trying to figure it out with your main characters too, you know? So whenever it's kind of like, haha, it was the butler, you're kind of like, oh shit, it was the butler. You know, now I see that. But at the very beginning, when they show you the butler did it, for the rest of the season, you're kind of like, get a fucking clue. It was the butler. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's just no surprise element. A couple of the villains that they brought in, they immediately show you who they are and how they're connected. And some of this, I think they should have waited. Spoiler, in the first season, they find out that like a state trooper is involved in this. Now, this will tell you this in the third episode. You'll find out about the trooper. That should have waited probably almost till the end of the season so you can go, oh, shit, this is how he's getting away with this, and this is how he got his women, and this is how he's trafficked them. It would have made so much sense to hold that piece of information from you so you could try to figure it out. But they don't do that, so it's kind of a lot of steps to get you there, and it's not horrible because, like I said, I did watch it, to the end, and like I said, I'm hoping just in one episode, the way the I don't know how to describe it. The show picked up, and you could see a different way of them doing things. So it's kind of like I hope they continue that trajectory. Because Jensen came in, and I'll tell you what, 2 seasons worth of bullshit was wrapped up real quick, which we kind of thought it would. So I'm excited to see what the new story is going to be in the 3rd season. I honestly think I didn't think they expected to get a season 3 because the way they wrapped season 2. So hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. But then also, before show, we were talking about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers did a reboot. It came out this weekend. I liked it. I'm a Disney nerd anyway, so I would have liked anything they did. But there was so many old cameos in this that, like I said, I would pause the screen just to see, oh my God, look, that's this, and this is, Felix the cat, and there were so many properties involved in this movie. I don't know how they got away with some of it. And I said that all the different characters and stuff in that they had to go outside of the big head and ask quite a few big heads for some of these people to be in there, I'm sure. They're hoping for a second one. I'm kind of hoping the way that Disney Plus has been working with these mini series and that kind of thing, I think it would be kind of cute to get a Rescue Rangers series. Some of the characters that we were introduced to, plot of this. Chip and Dale are together. They were doing the Rescue Rangers. Dale kind of gets tired of being second banana all the time. So he was going to go off and do his own thing, which kind of split everybody up. I think it's 20 years later, they find out that Monty needs help, so Chip and Dale have to get back together before he's rebooted. Now, they're kind of laughing at themselves in this movie, which made it even more enjoyable to watch because they knew what they were doing is kind of, sometimes, Well, I won't tell you who the villain is, but the villain is taking, he's kind of like a gang boss. And like Monty, he ate too much cheese and he didn't have enough money to pay for it. So his repayment was he was going to be rebooted, which, instead of Finding Nemo, it's, Found Flounder kind of reboot movies. So we do get to see a lot of messed up cartoons who, that were supposed to be something. One of the main things that I didn't like, and I think they did it on purpose though, Chip and Dale had some very screwy voices. I'm not used to them sounding like that. But it was cute because they made the little squirrel chipmunk voice their acting voice. And so this was their, outside voice kind of thing. So that was kind of weird. Maybe they'll fix that in the second one. But one thing that I thought was kind of weird when they're going through Chip and Dale's history together, I thought Chip and Dale, before the Rescue Rangers, got their start with Mickey Mouse. They were part of the Mickey Mouse gang. I know now in like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey Mouse Funhouse, Mickey Mouse Roadster Racers, which is thanks to I have a grandbaby. I'm not a weirdo, but these 3 series.
Sorry, that didn't bail you out.
You
Go ahead.
started out calling yourself a weirdo when you started this conversation.
Right.
You can't back out of it now. We're getting into the lore of Chip and Dale, for crying out loud. Come on.
Right. Well, the newer series do have them as part of the Mickey Mouse gang. So I don't know if I'm just maybe remembering this wrong or I don't know. I really thought that they were in all of the Mickey Mouse stuff, all of the movies and Fantasias and everything else with Mickey Mouse and things. But being a Disney movie and all of the cameos they made, I didn't see any of that group at all, which was kind of weird. I mean, they did show the fireworks, like at the beginning of every Disney show, how it comes up over the castle and makes the circle with the mouse ears over the castle. They did do that in the movie, but as far as Mickey Mouse himself, I didn't see him. So that was kind of weird. And I felt like if you want to explain, if you wanted to get into the history of Chip and Dale, they should have at least mentioned Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse could have really helped them out of some of the shit they got themselves into.
But then it would have just turned into a Mickey Mouse movie. I mean, come on.
True. But another kind of jarring thing is Del Whitten got a CGI surgery. So he is CGI and Chip is original cartoon. And I think they did that on purpose for one thing, so you could tell them apart when they're in their different little costumes and that kind of thing. But that was kind of, But one last thing about the movie, there was a couple of references to Roger Rabbit. And I don't think you could have made this kind of movie and not mentioned what really, the first of its kind. Now, there has been videos and that kind of thing where they've put cartoons in with real people and that kind of thing. But until Roger Rabbit came along, we never really saw a movie where that blended so well, and it was the whole point of 2 hours. So, even Roger Rabbit himself was in this movie. One of the villains, though, when he goes to torture the victim and he rolls his thing out of knives and all that other kind of stuff, there's one pin in there, and it's called Dip. And it was like, oh, there's another nod to Roger Rabbit, because the dip was what they were dipping all the cartoons in to erase them in Roger Rabbit. So it was like, so I think they definitely paid attention to that. They went more of the route of Roger Rabbit instead of Space Jam with this. But it's pretty interesting. Like I said, if you're a fan of the classics, just the cameos alone is worth it just to sit through that. It's fun because they are laughing at themselves about reboots, which is what this is. And the characters. Oh, and one other thing, they go to a Comic-Con and they have the ugly Sonic there. Do you guys remember Ugly Sonic? The one that they put out before the movie, and they showed everybody what Sonic was going to look like, and they had a freaking cow.
and society just collectively threw up. Yeah.
Yes. Well, he is in this movie, and he actually winds up being like a badass in this movie. So it was kind of, I thought that was also fun that they could kind of sit back and kind of laugh at themselves, Sonic with the human teeth. But yeah, and that was pretty cool for him to be in here. And like they do go to a Comic-Con, so just the characters alone that are at the Comic-Con, they have the live action Baloo, some of the older cartoons like Darkwing Duck, Telia, the Catwoman kind of cartoon. She was there. So like I said, it's pretty interesting. If you was a fan of Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers. You'll definitely like this. Just for the nostalgia and to see, the old guys once more. But it is centered on Chip and Dale, so I'm hoping they get a second one so we can see a little bit more about the girl and the fly that's actually married to each other now and have about 100 babies. So, yeah, pretty cute. I said that Disney Plus just put it out. So if you've got, I think it's like an hour and a half. It's worth it.
Nice.
Mhm.
Sounds like insanity, but I'm not sure if that's the movie or the description.
It both.
Now, Chip and Dale were originally the problems of Donald Duck.
Right, yeah.
So,
So they were villains originally?
no, they were the ones that would give
Kind of.
Donald trouble all the time.
Yeah.
So,
And then Looney Tunes came along and tried to spoof them with their two little chipmunks. How do you do? After you. No, after you. I forget what they're.
Macintosh.
Yes. So it was kind of like, But yeah. I see, and that's what I thought. Well, maybe I'm confusing the Looney Tune guys with Chip and Dale, but now that you said Donald Duck, that is right. He was always in their tree.
Or the other way around, maybe?
Yeah, they were in his tree. Yeah.
The description we got was kind of out of the tree, too. So,
It certainly didn't fall far from the tree. That's for sure.
true that.
Well, they're a very cute part of Disney now. So, if you guys ever wondered, they're doing fine.
Oh, good.
They got some best friends and
I
a
will
talking house.
I
And,
will sleep better tonight knowing that.
Mm.
Between that and the pill I plan on taking, I will sleep better tonight. It's melatonin, people. Don't call the cops or nothing. Jeez. Oh, goody, I get to follow that again.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, I watched something about a comedy thing, too. What I watched was only funny because it had clips, though. Because it was a documentary. I know. You're all shocked. I watched a documentary. This one is called The Great Buster. It came out in 2018, and it is basically the life story of Buster Keaton. If you are not familiar with Buster Keaton, you've probably heard the name because he was pretty important in Hollywood for a while. But he was one of
Just a little
the
bit.
silent film comedy greats. Although he was kind of the one that didn't always get the credit that he probably was due. But yeah, and that was actually kind of part of the point of the documentary. But documentary is, one, really interesting, and two, has a lot of great clips in it. And it was directed by Peter Bogdanovich. So again, I stumbled across a documentary by like an actual famous director. I seem to have been getting lucky with those lately. If I was going to say anything negative about this movie, it's that I wish Bogdanovich had let somebody else narrate it. But even that's not really a problem. I mean, it's fine. It's just that his voice isn't super exciting or anything. And
No.
but
I totally understand. He had some great stories, but man, could someone transcribe them for me, please?
right. I mean, given all the guests they had in this, oh my God, get any of them to do the narration for this movie. And I mean, I get why he wanted to do it, I think, but yeah, there's, I mean, some really good stuff. It's really interesting. It was unfortunately, which all too often happens with the great comedians, not a super happy life. But managed to do his thing basically until the day he died. Which, I mean, given that his heyday was in the 20s, essentially, that he kept doing stuff until the mid 60s. That's pretty good. He wasn't always treated fairly in that time frame, but he was still working and doing stuff and making people laugh.
Yep.
So it's a good documentary. I watched it on Tubi.
I have to look that one up.
The Great Buster.
The Great Buster.
He was in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Had one of the great roles. And he's just fascinating to watch. He was brilliant in what he did.
Yep, and did most of it before there were stunt people.
Yeah.
So he was doing it all himself. And honestly,
He and Harold Lloyd and some others.
Yeah. He actually worked with Fatty Arbuckle for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Until that fell apart for various other reasons. Mainly the end of Fatty Arbuckle's career, but that's an entirely different documentary.
Ooh, it sounds like tea.
Yeah, very much so. Very much in your vein, actually. You should find something on Fatty Arbuckle. If I come across something, I will shoot you a link. But
sounds like a rabbit hole for this weekend.
there you go.
Lord.
You mentioned the funny thing happened on the Way to the Forum. That was actually his last mainstream film.
I think so.
Yeah, because that was 60.
It was 66 when it came out.
6, was it? Okay. Yeah, he had done a couple other little things before he passed away, but yeah.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, his last appearance on film was The Scribe, which was a safety film that was produced by the Construction Safety Associations of Ontario. Ontario. God, I can't speak. You're right, Mikey.
I warned you.
He died shortly after completing it.
Yep. And yeah, it's one of those things that whether you're into silent movies or not, watch at least one Buster Keaton movie before you die. Yeah. And if that doesn't make you want to watch more, then I don't know what to do with you. Because they're great.
Very true.
Alrighty, Les.
I found a fairly new series on Amazon Prime called Night Sky. This is with Sissy Spacek and J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
It's tough to describe, but it is so frickin' fascinating. Just in the first 2 episodes, you're going, what the frill are they going for? But it's got a lot of mystery to it, and as a result, I'm really hooked on this thing. I think it's like 8 episodes, so it's a fairly short run. I can't tell you if this is just season 1 or if it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you get the chance, it's one to really take in and set some time aside for it, because I got a feeling you're going to be drawn in very quickly.
Yeah, I saw a commercial for it the other day. It was the first time I ever saw anything about it, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but it sure did look interesting. And I mean, Sissy Spacek and J.K. Simmons. I mean, okay, that's pretty good right there.
Mm.
So.
a kind of an odd pairing.
Yeah,
but they pull it off.
but they're very good actors, and if the script's really good, then it should be a really good show, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely am interested in checking that one out. Like I said, that commercial, I could not figure out what the story was about from that trailer, and I'm like, okay, but still, that cast,
Right.
just
that
the two
cast
of them
alone
is
is worth giving it an episode of a shot.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Watch
Definitely.
one episode. I mean, geez.
yeah. For me, a couple things. I mentioned this to the group last week. I have procured the latest Epic Collection from Marvel, and it's very timely. It's entitled She-Hulk Breaking the Fourth Wall. And this compiles Sensational She-Hulk issues 1 through 12, She-Hulk Ceremony issues 1 and 2. It was a 2-issue little thing, and then some material from some other issues. The thing that surprised me is it did not include the graphic novel that came out before the Sensational She-Hulk series, which was written and illustrated by John Byrne, and who started up this run. I was kind of surprised by that. But anyway, it's a really good read. This is more of we are at a time now where if anybody encounters anything and say, well, that's just someone else was doing that before, and da-da-da. If you pick this up and read this, there's a lot of humor in the books. She breaks the fourth wall, obviously, by the title of the book, a lot. People are going to go, Deadpool did that. Well, I got news for you. Deadpool's first appearance was like in 92, 93. The first issue of Sensational She-Hulk was December 1989. So she was doing it 3 years before he even showed up, and I don't think he was even doing that then. So she's not ripping off anybody. This was actually a nice change, because the original, the Savage She-Hulk, which came out before, really didn't show the monster. It kind of moved around, maybe kind of a monster, more of a hero, that kind of thing. So this was actually something that kind of pushed her away from her cousin. That she's not literally a carbon copy of the Hulk. This actually gave her a little something else, and it's a fun read. So I definitely recommend checking that out. Something else I kind of stumbled into while compiling notes and doing this, that, and the other for podcasts and other stuff. I encountered, I guess you'd call it a documentary short. And this is from, I think it was from mid to late 90s, something like that, because the quality I saw was basically a VHS tape, looked like it. Anyway, it was called I Created Lancelot Link. And this is the story of Steve Burns and Mike Marmer, who were the two guys who created this show that only lasted one season. It was a Saturday morning. If you're not familiar with the show, it was a Saturday morning show. It was live action. It was a spoof of James Bond. It was actually kind of influenced by Get Smart, which makes sense because these two guys were writers on the show. But everything was performed by chimps. They're all chimpanzees. So you've got these chimps dressed up in costumes, and you've got the likes of, let me get that. Dayton Allen did a lot of the voices. I can't remember. It's Joan Gerber was one of the other voices, and the third one was Bernie Coppell, who one of the characters he was basically ripping off from Get Get Smart as the head of
Like his own
God.
character from Get Smart.
Yeah, he was ripping off his own character. Yeah. But it's kind of funny hearing some of the stories, and of course there's clips about this, about the behind the scenes of doing the show. And one of the things I thought was kind of interesting was they would also do like this little, I don't even want to call it a skit, but it was kind of the music video where they dressed them up and like they're a band, and then there's a song playing, and you see them playing the quote unquote playing the instruments. But they talked about, like the first time they tried to do this, they were just kind of banging around on the instruments and all that till they started the music. Then all of a sudden they all jumped on the beat. They got with the beat.
Huh.
And I was like, well, that's interesting.
That is.
So, but it's barely 15 minutes, but it was kind of interesting. I remember seeing some of these, not when it was originally aired, but later on, and I'm not sure where they are now, probably Amazon Prime or something like that. But it was kind of an interesting show. And the thing, it was hearing the history about these writers, the creators. I told you that they were on the Get Smart writing team.
Mm-hmm.
They won an Emmy for a sketch on the Carol Burnett show. Can y'all guess what sketch that was? And I'll give you a clue. It's probably one of the most famous sketches.
Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind one?
Yep.
Mm.
They wrote that sketch, and they won an Emmy for it.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. That was a good one.
But it was kind of interesting hearing the stories and all that, and the problems they had trying to teach the chimp stuff. First of all, walk up straight, and then try to mouth the dialogue, which the main one, Lancelot Link, I can't remember what the name of the chimp was right now, couldn't do it. So what they did was they gave him gum to chew. So every time you see him talking, he's actually chewing gum. That's how they're getting him to mimic doing the dialogue.
There you go. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm. And how something like this cannot happen nowadays.
No, probably not.
Yeah. They didn't mention that, but I mean, that was at the back of my head the entire time I was watching this.
You say band made of monkeys. I mean, isn't that pretty much what Gorillaz is? I mean, right?
I don't even know where to start with that one.
Question is, should you?
No, I'm just gonna let it go.
Just smile a lot and back away.
I would have thought that Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones and Mike Nesmith and Peter Tork would have a problem with it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just gonna go ahead and move on.
And so we should.
Before we get into this week's discussion, I do want to point out that we do have a Discord that y'all are more than welcome to come join us. Sign up is free for the Discord. Sign up for a Discord account's free. The app is free. We have an invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofgeeks.net. We post a lot of news items. We'll post videos. We post memes. Just have a lot of fun with on here. We'll do some activities. We'll do like a movie night or something like that. We haven't done one in a while. We're a little bit overdue. We may do something here real soon. Who knows? So when you're not listening to the podcast but you want to hang out with us, come on and do it. You're more than welcome.
Yeah. What a great idea.
Yeah. I was waiting for someone to kind of back me up. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I was a little distracted. That never happened.
Well, you're not the only one on this podcast last night.
I'm not. It's true.
I was trying to find a GIF.
I think everybody was trying to find a gift. Except for Les. He was looking for a beer.
I was looking for a dip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was going to make a joke about phoning it in, but we're on Skype, so technically we all phone it in.
Okay. This week should be a little fun. This week we were talking about the 35th anniversary of probably one of the funnest rides in comics I've had. This was right after DC restarted from Crisis of Infinite Earths, and a lot was going on. But it was time they wanted to restart the Justice League. So they decided to get Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, and Kevin Maguire to team up to do this new book. The problem is John Byrne was busy with Superman, so he wasn't available. George Perez was busy with Wonder Woman, so Wonder Woman wasn't available. And Flash, which was by Mark Waid, and who was doing Mike Barron, I'm sorry. Mark Waid came later. Was handling the Wally West Flash, so those characters were not available to be part of the new lineup. So we get Batman, Black Canary, Mr. Miracle, Guy Gardner, Dr. Fate, Martian Manhunter, and the new version of Dr. Light, who was she was a heroine, not the bad guy that we knew from previous years. And man, they decided with this group they would go with a different approach, a little bit more humor than other books had in the past. Matter of fact, most books didn't really have that much humor at the time. So with that, let's discuss a little Justice League, the Bwahaha years.
I don't know a lot about this one. I tried. I really tried. Yeah. I have it downloaded. I bought it. I kind of skimmed. I did see the lineup and everything else on it, but I have to be one of those tonight. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, Les, it's going to be you and me tonight.
Well, for a start,
I thought he was going to say something else at first.
He may still.
Yeah, it ain't over yet.
Threw me off.
I'm afraid to say anything now. You'll never know what happens. This was a needed turn for the Justice League to infuse a bit of humor in this is really the smart thing to do. And you can't get a better writer than Giffen or DeMatteis.
Mm-hmm.
Maguire, of course, it stands out in anything he does.
Yep.
But this one had interaction between the characters something that definitely the early Justice League did not have. But this one was solid with the pairings, and you had the people that you loved and the people that you despised, and the release of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, I thought was just absurdly funny.
Yeah, this is where the pairing came from. Everybody, most people, readers now, know them as best friends, but this was because of this book.
And that was Heroes in Crisis, wasn't it? With Booster Gold.
Well, they've been buddies for. This is the book that started off them being buddies.
Yeah.
And they kind of changed Booster a little bit to be a little bit more wanting. He's always had the angle of wanting to be famous and all of that, but this kind of did it a little bit more and try to make money too. So there was always this, he always had some kind of scheme, and somehow Blue Beetle gets dragged into it, and it just kind of, there's always some kind of weird thing going on, that kind of thing. I want to go back to something that you started off with, Les. You talked about the humor, and it was something that Justice League needed at the time. I would open it up a lot more, because we're talking a couple of years after Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, so there's the whole grim and gritty that we're still fighting to this day. You had this kind of hanging over everything, and then here comes this book is saying, you know what, you don't have to do that. You could do it this way, and it's just as entertaining and is just as a great as read as those. This is the book that gave us the one punch joke.
Oh, yes.
Which is still referenced to this day, and we're talking 35 years later. That's pretty amazing to think of that. They took DeMatteis and Giffen took Guy Gardner, who in the Green Lantern books was, let's face it, he was basically kind of nondescript. He was just a guy. He just happened to have a ring. In this book, all of a sudden, he's God's gift to the universe, and he knows it. He talks about, hey, Stallone models his style after me, and we don't need the Alan Aldas in the world here. I got it, baby. Just trust me. That kind of thing. That was kind of a big change of a character, and that still lasted for a very long time.
Yeah.
Until about the time he became Warrior.
It's that kind of thing, and they've softened a lot of that. He still kind of has the ego, but it's kind of more in check. But yeah. So, and the follow up to One Punch, and you'll probably remember this, Les, where he bangs his head, and then for several issues he was very Mr. Nice Guy and all that kind of stuff, which was just as funny. Because you have these 4 or 5 issues where he's just got this, he's the most egotistical person on earth, and all of a sudden he's Mr. Rogers because he got banged on his head. And then he recovers, he becomes an idiot, he becomes an ego again, he gets hit in the head again, and all of a sudden it was kind of funny that they played around with that. They changed Captain Marvel to show him a little bit more of the kid in the man's body, where it really wasn't that way before, which was an interesting change too.
Captain Whitebread.
Captain Whitebread, yep. So, it's and the stories were I mean, they were everywhere. Where they're battling, in the first few issues, they're battling the satellites that are blasting lasers. If I remember correctly, there was the whole town that was messed up by the Gray Man, which was a character I was not familiar with until that particular story. And then the whole thing with Max Lord in the background. I mean, this was the book that brought us Max Lord, who was the villain in Wonder Woman 84. Which was great that McGuire modeled him after God, why am I blanking on names tonight?
Sounds like bigger than a bread box.
Well, I mean Jurassic Park. Not Jeff Goldblum, the other one.
Sam Neill?
Sam Neill, thank you. He was modeled after Sam Neill. And if you look at the art, you go, yeah, that's Sam Neill.
What were the sales like?
I don't know, what were sales like?
I'm just curious. Because it's not that it's stopped abruptly, but I personally, although I loved it, I'm not sure that it could stand on its own either.
Well, I mean, the book the book went for like 100 and some odd issues. Now, of course, it changed a little bit. They kind of moved away from the humor after a certain period of time. For a few years, definitely.
And they definitely added to the roster.
Oh, yeah.
They expanded the roster big time.
Well, it was popular enough for them to spin it off to where, because the first 6 issues was just Justice League, or maybe the first 7, something like that. Then they became Justice League International because through the dealings of Max Lord and everything else, they became part of the UN. So they would have embassies across the world. So it became Justice League of America, and then eventually there would be a Justice League Europe spinoff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, obviously the sales were well enough to where they could do that. But I don't have actual numbers in front of me, and I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm just kind of curious if you'd come across anything that divulged that info. I did not come across it, but
I could probably come up with that information. Maybe we can put it in the show notes.
Find a link for the show notes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Did you have a chance to read them, Mike?
I read through the first few issues.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I did not make it to the One Punch.
Nope.
I think I got close. It's probably in the next issue, but I was running out of time.
Yeah.
It is definitely a diverse crew. And I agree with the needed comedy thing because, I mean, geez, even if you don't take into account stuff that like Dark Knight Returns and all that, I mean, just Crisis on Infinite Earths was just so high drama.
Yeah.
And I understand that was the norm for a long time. For comics, for DC Comics especially, was the high drama thing, and that had to change.
Yeah.
I think that was probably killing them. It had probably nearly killed them a couple of times. So, yeah, something had to give. And yeah, it seemed like they might have gone too far on a couple of the characters, but they had to do something to. I mean, you get characters as diverse as this, and man, the problems just write themselves. So that helps.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier. I mean, you put a feminist Black Canary in there with the new complete dickhead Guy Gardner. Yeah, that's going to explode eventually.
Yeah.
That's just a matter of time.
I'll say this for you, Mikey. Once you get to that one punch, you'll love her reaction. You remember Les?
Oh, yeah. You'll love everybody's reaction.
Oh, everybody's, yeah. Matter of fact, I think that's where the first wahaha come from, but I may be wrong. I may be mistaken. But anyway. Yeah, I mean, it should not work. It should not have worked, especially after what just happened prior to this with the Detroit era of the Justice League. I'm not saying those weren't great characters, and I'm not saying that they weren't great stories, but it was definitely diverse, and it was definitely a little off, and it just, to me, it didn't work. It didn't matter who you had doing the book. It just wasn't there. So now you get this group, which you think would probably fail as well, because there's really no A-list characters other than, I mean, Batman's it. I mean, no offense to John Jones or Black Canary. They, maybe they're A- character in types of tier characters, but that's it. You've got an alternate Green Lantern. You've got, one character was just recently created. One was brought over from a previous publisher, and this was essentially his first chance to get. I mean, he had his own book, but this is his first chance to get a little bit more of a limelight, because he's in the teen book, and so on and so forth. That, it shouldn't work because of that grouping, but it did because of the genius of DeMatteis and Giffen writing the script, and then McGuire's art's awesome.
Stellar.
Anytime.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of numbers for you, Les, but not an exact number, because surprise, surprise, in 87 they were having problems with diving then too. In 87, the top grossing comic was Uncanny X-Men, so that's what JLI was running up against. But in the top 50 comics, Justice League International was number 10.
Okay. Top 10 book of the year, yeah.
Yep. But everything for the whole of 87, number one comic was Uncanny X-Men.
Well, that was the heyday of the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mikey and I were reading those at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll link this. This was from Comicron.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go. So I appreciate you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
As do I.
It didn't do bad in its run, especially to go up against something like the X-Men at the time.
Yeah, the 80s were the X-Men, the Teen Titans, and New Teen Titans, and everything else. That was pretty much it.
Do you guys want to take a guess on how much the comic was?
Let me think.
Whatever the standard was at the time.
It was like $1.25, something like that.
Let's say $1.50.
It was 75 cents. It
Wow.
looks like comics were varying anywhere from 75 cents up to $1.25. Oh, I see one for $1.50.
Interesting that they opted for the lower price on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the days, 75 cents.
Huh.
Right? Can't even get a postcard with Batman on it for 75 cents anymore.
I'm not sure you could get a postcard with Batman on it for 75 cents 5 years later.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that
Uh-huh.
word. It was just fun. It was one of those you didn't have to think.
I like
Let's
those.
just sit back and laugh.
And I'm more out to reading something funny, just because when I'm taking a break to read, that's usually what I need is a laugh at that time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this is the way this is set up, you kind of don't even need bad guys in this book.
Huh.
I mean, the first few issues, there was no one of consequence. I mean, yes, there were villains. There were people doing stuff and they were going to stop them, but wasn't anything major because there was enough going on just within the team that you didn't need to spend a whole lot of time fighting anything. They were fighting plenty on their own.
Very true.
I downloaded this one. I'm just, yeah. Life's kind of smacked me in the face a couple of times.
Life's been smacking you in the face for a year and a half. What are you
Oh
talking about?
God, I know.
I think a little bit longer than that, but we'll go with that.
Yeah, I think it's a birthright.
No, that's a different book. We may talk about that.
Yeah, we could talk about Birthright if you want. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a fun ride. It still holds up all these years later. That's what's amazing. Is it's just as good now as it was then. That's a testament to their talents. Yeah.
And if I recall, isn't it referenced in a lot of even newer stories? Not that they go, well, you remember when we did this, but it was almost like, yeah, we tried that before, remember? Type deal.
Probably. I know the Bwahaha gets referenced a lot. I mean, that's still a callback. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Justice League. It could be anything. There may be a Bwahaha, and that's obviously a nod to them. It's kind of like the Wilhelm scream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. And for comics, it's the Wilhelm scream of comics, the Bwahaha.
Now there are volumes of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can locate it, that's definitely one way to catch up on it. Or call Liz and figure out how to download the bastards.
I actually got it for my Kindle on Amazon.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I usually like to go to comic book stores for that kind of thing, but I don't know.
But there are challenges there.
There's challenges. Yep. Well, and something like this, definitely check with your local comic book store. If they don't have it being the anniversary, I'm sure they can order it for you.
Yeah. Yep. And
it's digital too, so.
Yeah. It's well worth the investment.
This will be one like the Secret Wars that I'll have to go back and read.
And then you'll read it, and then you'll come in here and you'll be all excited on some random ass show,
and
20 episodes down the line. You're like, holy shit, I can't believe I did it. Uh-huh.
And then he said, "Wahaha."
He knocked him out with one punch. Can you believe it? Oh my god. It was amazing. Uh-huh.
And something else.
Welcome to the party, Liz.
Something else I didn't mention.
Uh-huh.
This is the book that started John Jones' passion for Oreo cookies.
Oh.
So now whenever that's referenced, it's because of this
It's
book.
from this book. Yeah, there's a bunch of. I'm sure there's a bunch of little stuff in this book that became canon, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
I'm wanting to say on Supergirl, they kept that in there.
Smallville.
It was a big part of the animated series.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
it came up all the time.
Yep. That's true.
It was in Smallville that it was first shown on television. Because Clark came across the cookies in the barn where John had more or less camped out so he could talk to Clark.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This also gave Guy Gardner a girlfriend.
Yep. Ice.
Yeah.
Ice Maiden. I think it was Ice Maiden, then she became Ice. No. Changed her name. Code name, not Ice, but yeah.
She was running with fire.
Yep. Yes, because you had to have fire and ice. Yep.
Oh, sure. Goes without saying.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you've not read this, you should. Or if it's been a while, definitely pick it up again. It's worth the time.
Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should end it on a wahaha.
Yeah, but see, the problem is that one of us would have to make a good joke for that to happen, and the odds of that are very low.
Wahahaha. You just did.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, on that note, we are taking a quick break and be back with our geek news for you. And we're back. It is time for Geek News for You. And if you're not familiar with this segment, which we've been doing for a couple of months now, we will pick a couple of news items, bring it to the table, and kind of do a little discussion. For this week, it will be Les and myself. So, Les, would you like to go first?
All right, sir. Well, I came across an article on thehill.com about Netflix. And Netflix, within the past week or so, has told some of the workers, if you don't care for the content on the channel, go work elsewhere. I think this is a very good idea. This gets those who are trying, I'm sorry, but they're trying to make it a political agenda. It forces them out. Forces them to state where they want to be, where they want to manipulate what they want to manipulate. Granted, Netflix has had some tough times recently, but this, I think, is major. There's no reason that a streaming service should be politicized. And this is what people are doing at Netflix. I was looking through the article, and they were talking about Chappelle, talking about Dave Chappelle and how they wanted the concert that Chappelle was doing canceled. Chappelle was making his statements. These people are standing up and saying there is no reason to go against the items that Chappelle was stating. And last October, they had hundreds of Netflix employees walk out. Now, Netflix did not fold. They stood there and said that they had no reason to try to bring this out of there or pull it off the air. And Chappelle said, if this is what being canceled is like, I love it.
Yeah.
Because this made him a
Ticket
star.
sales go up. Yep.
Again.
Well, and
Yeah, and he was also attacked on stage, but hey.
that's what I was saying. I think two things made him a target there. I think one thing, what happened at our Oscar show recently, but I also think all the controversy that was surrounded with him. I think those two things collided together, and that's what happened. And I'm still wondering, why the hell don't these big venues have better security? You think my hobbly ass even tries to get up on a stage, they're going to body slam me. How do these people do this? You know? I don't get it.
Did you see a picture of the weapon? It was like a gun.
It was
but it had a knife through the barrel.
Yeah, it reminded me of like the Joker gun.
Yeah.
Where it popped out with the bang, but instead of bang, it was a knife. But they definitely took care of Dave Chappelle after the fact, because I think by the time they got done with that guy, they decided, we're not going to press charges on him, and he's not going to pursue charges on us, and we're just going to walk away from this. But I can guarantee with his broken arm and leg and ribs and everything else, he will think twice before jumping up on a stage again.
Well, don't think that he's not believing himself a victim and is going to try to sue them.
I bet.
For doing what they did.
See, and that's what Dave gets for trying to be nice. Because, Dave didn't really do anything. This was his posse who did it. He has every right to press charges on this man. He ran on stage and attacked him. But he said he got to talking to the guy and found out he was homeless and that kind of thing. And he's like, at some point, you got to ask yourself, am I just piling it on? And so he decided not to press charges. So I think if the guy does sue him, that should speak volumes in court. The victim being a nice guy. Yeah. Now you decided to pile on him.
But that's what I'm looking at, is the fact that Netflix did not bow.
Yep.
And now they're telling the workers that if you don't like what we're doing, you best go find somewhere else.
I mean, honestly, though, shouldn't that be any job? If you're a vegetarian, don't get a job in a steakhouse and then expect them to take meat off your menu and do the. I mean, you can't do that. That's not the way the business was set up. And I mean, I guess I'm all for if you make a product and it's making a lot of money, you shouldn't have a bunch of yahoos step in and tell you how to spend your money.
True.
And I think the whole Netflix thing, I'm sure you guys remember. Do you guys remember Cuties? And when it came out, that was pretty much when I quit watching Netflix, because it was like, I cannot believe they put this on here. Netflix was kind of like, sorry, we're going to keep this on here, If you don't like it, we have thousands of other shows you can watch, but this one is going to stay on here. So with Dave Chappelle, when they pretty much gave the same message, no, this is going to stay on here. If you don't like it, there's thousands of other shows you can watch, that became a problem. And if the demand for the walkout was take the show off Netflix, that would have been okay, but that wasn't the demand. That wasn't even one of the demands. So it was kind of like, so is this a problem with Dave Chappelle, or is this your way in to try and create the job that you want to do without making your own business and setting up the financials for it, and, the whole know-how. If you want a business to run that way, do it. That's what they did.
Yeah.
But I say that for anybody, even if I don't like the story. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Netflix. I think you guys know that. I'm not a big fan of Netflix. But I believe that they have every right to run their business the way that they want to. Disney's getting raked over the coals right now. I believe that Disney has a right to run their business any way that they want to. When someone makes $1 million and makes their own company, then you can decide what you want to do and how you want it, and
But don't drag politics into it.
Right. Until then, you accepted to do a job. If you don't like that job or the environment that job is in, go find another job that you do that has the environment you want to be in.
Yeah.
Okay. For my story, Liz will like this.
Yay.
Some dude named Jensen Ackles.
I love it already.
Lord.
Did an interview with Entertainment Weekly, and what was brought up, which is something I had never heard of. I'd never heard this. But apparently there was rumors that he had auditioned to play Captain America, the role that went to Chris Evans.
Huh.
He said that never happened. He never had an audition. He never talked to anybody.
Yeah, because he's a DC guy all the way.
Well, this was well before that. But the reason why, apparently he was never approached because he was doing this other show, which I can't remember what that was called. It's a no-name show.
I don't think it did that well.
Yeah. So apparently he wasn't, I don't know, they just couldn't approach him because of the commitment or anything like this. So this is totally new to me that he was even thought of. And but apparently he also thought about him playing Hawkeye. And I thought, I can't see him as Cap, but Hawkeye I could probably see him play. Well, once again, the whole thing with Supernatural and all that was nipped in the bud pretty quick. But of course now he's playing a superhero with the boys and all that. So,
which actually is a parody of Captain America.
Yeah. So.
No, he's always been a DC fan. He reads the comic books. He's he keeps begging them to let him play Batman. And, of course, they're like, yes, of course, Jensen, we will do that. And they let him play the animated Batman. So after he got finished with that, he's still like, no, you didn't hear me. And I don't know. I mean, of course, I would watch him do anything. But I don't know if he would be a good Batman. But he's done cosplay as Red Hood and as Nightwing, and damn, I'd be down for either one of them series,
But I just thought it was kind of a rather interesting development. That's something that I had never heard of, and I try to do some follow up on some of this, and it's kind of hard to do when it's all rumors, but that seems to be all what all websites post nowadays. It's just, someone said this, so let's run with that. It's like, it was said.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of journalism, especially with pop culture and comic journalism. It's crap. But
it is.
But it was kind of interesting. Like I said, I could possibly see him doing Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know about Cap.
20 plus years that I've been a fan of his, I've never heard anything Marvel related.
Yeah.
Not saying that's bad or anything. Everything's just always been DC and.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, if DC's not coming to his door saying we want you to play this, but Marvel does, I mean, and going to throw money at you, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, you going to sit there and wait for DC showing up?
Yeah. I could definitely see him doing that. And I think after The Boys, I think this bug is going to bite him, and he'll probably pursue that a little harder. But damn, how much shit is he involved in right now?
Well, this was back, what, 2009? Because, I mean, we're talking about, like, right around when Iron Man came out. So we're talking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, obviously, because Supernatural's going on, and he was committed to that.
And
so,
9 years ago, at its peak.
So, yeah.
Jensen related, but in Discord, I posted the trailer for the new Winchesters. Did you guys watch any of that?
No,
I didn't realize I watch the Wayward Winchesters, which is like everything to do with Jared and Jensen, and they played the clip, and so there's like a little part after it where they talk and all that other stuff. I didn't realize I linked that clip, but I watched it, right. And it's good. I'm definitely gonna watch it.
No,
but I'm kind of concerned that they're going to step on a lot of the lore that they've already laid down the last 15 years. I mean, it's hard to go back and go, okay, but now let us tell you before 15 years ago. One of the main things I have a problem with, it looks like John and Mary fight together. John didn't know that Mary was a hunter until after she died. So I don't know how this series is going to come into play. You know?
Well,
yeah, changing lore is something that you're going to get with a prequel, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So either get used to it or don't watch it. You know.
Yeah.
Not trying to sound mean or anything, but
no.
Just
and I was about to say something similar. I said, about to say for anything that lasts a long period of time, there's going to be retcons. There's going to be changes. There's going to be alterations to the lore, and the Supernatural is not going to be
excused
different
from that rule.
Yeah.
Well, but it kind of, the story that they gave it was so John wouldn't look like such an asshole parent that abandoned his children. And now if you introduce it this way, that's going to make him just an asshole parent who abandoned his children. So it's kind of like, you can change the lore, but you can't change it that much, you know?
Well, but the deal is they don't ever have to tell that part of the story if they don't want to. They could run this Winchester show for however many years it runs and never conveniently get to the point where he turns into an asshole and leaves his children.
Yeah.
They could just ride away into the next thing, and it just ends. The show ends.
And he forgets.
It doesn't have to butt up to the beginning of Supernatural.
Right.
It could end 20 years before that still.
You know the fan base. 15 years, that's pretty long for any TV show. You know, they've laid down some roots, so it's kind of
you can say that for every fandom. I mean, hell, we just got Strange New Worlds. Enterprise chief medical officer as Mbenga. Something they've changed out of nowhere because it was Piper in the pilot, but the way they're saying it was just a pilot, or was it Piper? I can't remember now. It was someone else. And Mbenga was in the original series for 2 episodes. He was a doctor, but he wasn't chief medical officer. So, but that's a change of the lore.
Yeah.
So I mean, it happens, especially with the things that have been around for a long time. It's going to happen, whether we like it or not, and we can choose to like it, or we can choose not to like it and just ignore it and move on.
Yeah. I said it'll still be interesting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going back to what Supernatural used to be. So that's kind of cool, too. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to be okay with the background story.
Yeah.
I love the
Try it
narrator,
and see,
though.
and if you can't handle it, then you can walk away.
Then you can stop watching, yeah. And for the record, I don't have a problem with M'Benga being chief officer. It just, I thought it was cool that they actually brought him on. It just seems a little weird that they're bringing in so many of the original characters, original series characters that were, granted, there were background except for Uhura. She was nowhere near background. But, you know, and then all of a sudden they're pretty predominant in this new show. Like, okay, that's a little much, but that's all right. I'm sure it'll be fine. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We shall see.
Yeah, it's been pretty positive from what I've been hearing. Except for it's a little woke, but hey.
Yeah, Star Trek's never been woke.
Never been woke. Not until now. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Any special shout-outs this week?
Not me.
No.
Nothing here for me, so let's go ahead and move on. Regular shout-outs. I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be a part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who've been so kind as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links on Twitter. That is the Potter family. And the way to check them out is do a search, #PotterandFamily, one word. Just scroll through what catches your eye. Please click on that link and download that episode, and we hope you have a good time listening to that show. Thank you guys for your support as always. Want to thank Maddie the Martyr for supplying music to the podcast. Our show notes will include a link where you can check out their music. Thank you guys. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any comments, questions, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form that you can fill out. We mentioned our Discord earlier. We do have a section specifically for feedback, so if you'd like to join us, and then you can post your comments there, it would be greatly appreciated. Social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. I already mentioned Twitter, @FellowshipGeeks, and we are on Instagram, @FellowshipGeeks. Please follow us there. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We do appreciate your support. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @FellowshipGeeks. Until next time,